Imagine, two of the best teams in the world just battled for over 2 hours. Extra time is done. Everyone's exhausted, and instead of a shootout, the referee reaches into his pocket and pulls out a coin. No penalties, no drama on the spot, just heads or tails deciding who moves on in the biggest tournament on the planet. Sounds insane, right? But this actually happened. Real World Cups, real European Championships, real careers and legacies decided by a 50-50 flip that had nothing to do with skill, nerve, or talent. And the story of how football finally moved away from this to the penalty shootouts we know today is way stranger than you'd think. So let's get into it. Back in the early days of international football, nobody really planned for the possibility of a truly tied knockout match. Most competitions just assumed a winner would eventually emerge. If a match was drawn after extra time, officials figured, sure, let's replay it. Simple enough. But replays created massive problems. Tournaments had tight schedules, stadiums were booked, players were gassed, and broadcasters, once TV got involved, did not want to wait another 2 or 3 days for a rematch that might end in another draw anyway. So football's governing bodies needed something fast, something final. And in the 1960s, the answer they landed on was almost comically simple. Flip a coin. Yes. The same method you'd use to decide who kicks off a pickup game in the park was, for a while, an actual legitimate way to eliminate a country from a major tournament. The most infamous moment this ever happened was at the 1968 European Championship. Italy was hosting. The semi-final between Italy and the Soviet Union ended 0-0 after extra time. Under the rules at the time, since there was no penalty shootout system yet, the match had to be settled off the pitch. So what happened next sounds like something out of a bad movie script. The two team captains were brought together. A coin was flipped, and Italy called it correctly. Just like that, with a single flip, Italy advanced to the final of a major European tournament. Not because they outplayed the Soviets over 90, then 120 minutes. Because a coin landed the right way up. Italy went on to win the whole tournament. Their opponents, the Soviet Union, went home knowing that a 2-week tournament, months of preparation, and 90-plus minutes of elite competitive football had been erased by a 50-50 coin toss. Imagine being a Soviet player in 1968, flying home, and having to explain to your country that you didn't lose the game, you lost a coin flip. And here's the wild part. This wasn't some rare, one-off fluke. Coin tosses were a real, sanctioned method used across multiple competitions throughout the 60s. It wasn't just backup rule nobody expected to use. It actually got used, on some of the biggest stages in the sport. Fans hated it. Players hated it. Even referees hated being the ones holding the coin, knowing they were about to end someone's tournament with a flip of the wrist. Because think about the sheer unfairness of it. Football is a sport built on movement, decision-making, fitness, tactics, individual brilliance, a striker's first touch, a goalkeeper's reflexes, a defender's positioning. None of that mattered when it came down to a coin. All that mattered was calling heads or tails correctly. It's like training your whole life for a marathon, and the winner gets decided by a dice roll at the finish line. So obviously this couldn't last. Something had to change, and the man usually credited with sparking that change is a name most casual fans have never heard. Karl Wald. Wald was a West German referee and football official in the 1970s, and apparently he'd witnessed just how miserable and unfair these coin toss deciders were. Some accounts say the idea for a shootout, a real, skill-based tiebreaker, had actually been floating around for a while, with an Israeli referee named Yosef Dagan, sometimes credited with first proposing a version of it back in the 1960s. But it was Wald who pushed hard for it within German football, testing it out, refining it, and helping get it formally adopted. His pitch was simple. If a match is tied, let both teams take penalty kicks. It's still fast, it's still decisive, but at least it involves the players actually playing football. Nerve, placement, goalkeeping instinct, actual skill under pressure. FIFA and European football authorities eventually agreed, and starting in the early 1970s, penalty shootouts began quietly replacing coin flips as the go-to method for breaking deadlocked knockout matches. The first major shootout most fans point to happened in West German domestic competition in the early 70s, a genuine trial run for what would soon become a global institution. Then came the moment that made the whole world pay attention. The 1976 European Championship final, Czechoslovakia versus West Germany. The match finished tied after extra time, and instead of flipping a coin to decide the champion of Europe, both teams lined up to take penalties. Fans held their breath as one after another. Players stepped up. The tension was unbelievable, completely different from the anticlimactic, sterile feeling of watching two captains shake hands over a coin flip. And then came the shot that's still replayed decades later. Czechoslovakia's Antonín Panenka stepped up, and instead of blasting the ball hard to a corner, he casually chipped it down the middle, while the German goalkeeper dove out of the way. It worked. Czechoslovakia won the European Championship, and that single audacious penalty style was so iconic, it now carries his name forever. The Panenka. Anytime you see a player casually chip a penalty down the middle today, they're paying tribute to that exact moment in 1976. The first tournament where a shootout, not a coin, decided the ultimate winner. From that point on, the penalty shootout became the standard. FIFA officially adopted it for World Cup knockout matches soon after, and by the 1978 and especially the 1982 World Cup, fans everywhere had witnessed the drama of a full shootout on the sport's biggest stage. And once people saw it, there was no going back, because shootouts, whatever you think of them, are pure theater. The slow walk from the center circle, the goalkeeper trying to gain a mental edge, the deafening silence in the stadium right before contact, grown men in tears either from joy or heartbreak, all within seconds of each other. Compare that to a coin toss, where the entire fate of a match is decided in about 2 seconds, with zero build-up and zero chance for either team to actually influence the result. It's not hard to see why fans, players, and federations all push to leave coin flips behind for good. But, and this is the part a lot of people don't realize, coin tosses didn't disappear from football completely. They're still used today, just not to decide who wins a match. If two teams are level on points, goal difference, and every other tiebreaker in certain competitions, and it truly can't be resolved through other means, some rules still allow for a coin toss as an absolute last resort. It's rare. It's almost never triggered, but technically, the ghost of that old method still exists deep in the rulebooks of professional football. And every time it's mentioned, fans react the exact same way: shock, followed by a very confused, "Wait, that's still a rule?" So next time you're watching a World Cup shootout, and the tension is unbearable, and a goalkeeper is bouncing on his line trying to read a striker's eyes, remember, this entire ritual only exists because football finally admitted that flipping a coin to decide a match was completely absurd. Somewhere in Italy, there are Soviet players from 1968 who are 90, 100 years old now, who probably still think about that coin landing the wrong way for them. A tournament run ended not by a save, not by a missed shot, but by pure chance. And somewhere in football history, that unfairness is exactly what gave us Panenka's chip, and every dramatic shootout we've obsessed over ever since. So here's a question for you. If you were a player back in 1968, and your team's entire tournament came down to a coin flip you had no control over, would you have wanted the old system, or the pressure of a shootout instead? Drop your answer in the comments, because I guarantee not everyone agrees. And if this kind of hidden football history is your thing, hit the subscribe button. You're going to want to stick around for what's coming next on this channel.